I'm a guy that's 25. Lego Star Wars is my life. I like Ryan Johnson. I'm Rich Boy J. Hello boyos, Rich Boy J here, back in with another video, and this is going to be episode number 60 of the Starkiller base MOC build series. I know this episode is super delayed. I did not intend on having you guys waiting this long for another iteration of the Starkiller base build series. However, I just had some packages that just took forever to come in, but I finally got most of them in, enough to actually start building and get some good work done. So you guys will kind of see that come into play through the course of the video. Before I get into all those details, I first got to give a special thanks to those of you who contributed to the live streams via Super Chat. I sincerely appreciate it. Shout out to Axidroid, LordoftheBrix, Brickfreak, KultofChristiansen, LockedDoor, Brickopotamus, Ethan Blissett, LEGGO Boy 88, Alex Mcbrick, Estus Stephens, Brix Films, Warasaur Builds, Liam Owen, Owen Tomlinson, Francis, LEGGO Myke, UltraXfalcon, Imperial LEGO Productions, Lord Redfett Killer, and Alex H. Thank you all so much. You guys really do help make Starkiller actually possible to happen. This week's progress is super cool. I started working on the trend sections. I think you guys are going to love what I've built. This is definitely one of the more unique areas of the MOC that I've been able to work on so far. So enough talking, guys. Let's jump right into it. You know, guys, in my 25 years of living, I've learned a lot of life lessons. I've learned to always treat people with respect. I've learned that to get what you want out of this life, you need to work hard. I've learned that you can't really talk about Star Wars on the internet. People aren't going to take too kindly to that. But what I've learned most of all is apparently that I can't trust myself. I was so planning to move forward from this section of the build, but we're going to have to take care of some business before we move on. Basically, what ended up happening is this section right here is a stud forward compared to all of these sections, which sucks because this, like, the easy solution would be, oh, just move this back. But since this part right here is built into this, I'd have to rip so much of this apart, and I really just don't want to do that. So here's what I'm going to do instead. I'm actually just going to take the top sections of these three and move them forward a stud. It sounds crazy, right? Like, why fix these three when you can just fix this one? But it actually turns out the way these are built, it's much more simple for me to just take these plates that are on these supports and move all of these forward, as opposed to trying to, like, get in here, rip this room apart, rip the top of this part apart, in order to move this back a stud. So that's what we're going to spend the first part of this episode doing. I know, like, it's super annoying. When I first found out the issue, I was like, oh no, like, that's not going to be an easy thing to fix. But I think that it actually is not going to be too bad if I just move all of these sections forward. This section over here is fine. You know, it doesn't have this window section, so there's really nothing to worry about over here. I think this should still line up pretty well. The nice thing about rock work is, you know, these two sections of rock work don't really have to line up. You know, they just have to look decent enough next to each other. And the same thing goes for this rock work lining up on this, or really on this side of the build. So that's what we're going to do. Let's go ahead and do it. Now here's an update that's probably not really even going to feel like an update. I did get all these roof sections adjusted, so these are all finally lined up and good to go, which makes me super happy because it was super annoying having that issue. The one thing that's still kind of annoying is just because of where these two are placed on this table, it still looks like they're actually not aligned together, which I can assure you is not the case. Like, I've done my math. I promise you these are lined up. I know they're lined up because I've actually reoriented them in sections of the table where there's not this weird warping going on with the table, and they line up just fine. But that's really something you're just not going to be able to see until I get the wooden boards underneath these things, and they're a completely flat surface, and, you know, they can actually push up against each other without the warping of the table being a factor. So this is going to be one last look at this section. You're really not going to see this for quite some time now that it's in this room. This is basically the room where Starkiller goes to basically wait for its neighboring sections to be complete. So now that this is for the most part good to go, we can go ahead and work on the trench. So let's go do that, guys. All right, guys, it's time for the trench. So you can see here, this is the screenshot from The Force Awakens, and this is the trench section of the build. Basically, the X-Wings kind of skim along this area towards the oscillator building that's going to be back there. The way I'm going to be approaching this is I'm actually starting on this middle section of the trench first, and then I'm going to work on these walls on the side of it. My trench is going to be considerably scaled down. It's not going to be nearly this spacious, but it will still be big. It's basically going to be like 2 gray base plates from this end to this end. So wall to wall, 2 gray base plates. That's still a considerable amount of space. That'll certainly work for the X-Wings that I'm using. I'm not using this exact X-Wing, but I'll be using one similarly sized to it. And if you see, if I just lay this down on actually what I've already built, it actually fits right in the middle of this, which is good because this is just 1 gray base plate, and then it'll stretch, you know, the walls will be like right here, and then the other one will be on the other side, an equal distance away. So there should be a good amount of space to basically have at least maybe a couple X-Wings angled in interesting positions to give them a good looking flight stance, if you will. So this is what I built so far, and it worked out for a little bit. Like, I was okay with it until I really started dissecting the film, and I realized I don't actually like this. I don't like these designs that I've come up with. So these sections right here are basically supposed to be these sections right here, and the idea was that I was going to build these dark red tubes that go between them. So if you imagine, there's like this right here, and there's like the tube in the middle, and then it just kind of continues that way. And that's basically what you see in the film. But I guess I didn't get this shot. This is a very specific, unique, like, freeze frame of this film. And the thing I realized that I just did not do in mine is have the slant that comes down this wall, but then the other slant that goes back in. That's something that I just didn't include in mine. You can see the walls on mine just go straight down. They don't have that slant that goes back in. And I would really like that. I was honestly kind of iffy about using this scaffolding piece right here. It just doesn't really seem to fit in with the aesthetic down here. So I'm actually going to, unfortunately, redo all of these. It kind of sucks, but I think it'll be for the better because I do really want this trench to be nicely detailed. One thing I did do, though, is I placed an order to get a bunch of these 1/4 cylinder bricks, the 5 brick high ones. Got a bunch of these, basically got enough of these to run through 3 base plates between these, and that's exactly the amount I need. Because there's basically, the trench itself is going to be about like 3 base plates long, and then it'll kind of go right into the oscillator building, which will be off to the side. So if you imagine, the base plates start right here, tubes, base plate, tubes, another base plate with tubes in the middle on this side, and then you'll have the oscillator building, and that's where Poe's going to fly into. So it does kind of suck that I basically did all this work for nothing. But, you know, you live and you learn. One thing I guess I should show off before I just completely get rid of this is I did include these details in here. This is basically going to be the edge, like where you look into the MOC, and I wanted to kind of simulate this is the cross section. So I had these circles right here, and that's kind of like you know, the tubes would be coming out. So the idea was that there was something flowing through the tubes, and this hole would be like looking into the tubes. Either way, this probably won't stay here. Just because I don't know if I'll have enough room to have the wall slanting back in and keep this. But if I can, that'd be cool. If not, I'm not super concerned about it. But I do want to make sure I update these to look the way they should. So that's what I'm going to work on right now. Now, if you guys are wondering why this update took so long to come out, it's because of these packages right here. These took forever to come in, like 2 full weeks to come in. Like, I'm so excited that they're finally here because now I can finally progress forward with this build. Basically, I came up with a design that I liked for the section on the trench, and I'm like, okay, like, I get enough pieces to replicate it a bunch of times, and it just took forever for everything to finally come in. But it's all finally here. We can progress forward with this design, and hopefully everything will work out for the best. So yeah, let's crack these bad boys open and get to work. Actually, before I crack those open, I wanted to show you guys what this design looked like while I still have the old one here next to it. This is basically what I ended up coming up with, and I think this is a much better looking solution to these little sections right right here than what I had before. That's the old one. This is the new one. For one, it actually has the double slant design. This is actually a rather intricate snot like design that I had to come up with here to basically get both of these sections to line up and kind of connect back to back like this, and it ended up working pretty well. As you can see, this is really the side that's important here. This is the kind of way that it's going to look for all the other ones. You can just see the non-pipe side here because this is the edge of the MOC. But yeah, this is what I came up with. I think it looks awesome. I especially just love the aesthetic of these dark red quarter cylinders here. These are such cool pieces to see a bunch of in a Star Wars build. Like, I had to buy so many of these for this specific section. I spent an unmentionable amount of money on this, but I'm hoping once the trim section gets done, it'll have been totally worth it because of, you know, how nicely detailed this section will look. I'm spending quite a bit of time and effort trying to make sure this trench is something truly special on this build. So hopefully you guys can appreciate this. Once again, there's a look at this. There's a look at the other one. I think it's kind of a no-brainer. This one's definitely the better looking one. Still have some details to be added to the top here, but other than that, things are looking pretty awesome. So now that I have the pieces to replicate this, we're going to just go ahead and try to knock all these out. I don't want to have any of these left. I have all the pieces for it. There's literally no reason for me to not get this done. So let's go ahead and jump right on it. Oh man, okay, I just pulled this bag out of this package that I received, and look at this. Look at some of these pieces. This is crazy. Like, holy crap, dude. These dark red pieces are no joke. That's at least 3 of them, 4 of them that are broken. Like, I don't know if I should reach out to the seller about this. I mean, I would hope that they wouldn't just ship me a bunch of these that were already broken. I'm assuming it happened during transit. But that is just rough. Oh my god. I've never had this happen before. Like, I've received broken pieces, like 1 or 2 here or there, but like not to this degree. This is just like, jeez, man. Fortunately, I got a bunch of these. Like, I may or may not need these for specifically. I probably ordered more than I needed to. But, like, I would certainly prefer if they didn't show up like this, man. Wow. I'll probably just let the seller know just to, you know, maybe be more careful packing dark red pieces from here on. But this is, ugh, that's not good at all, man. I love LEGGO, but the lack of quality when it comes to these dark red and brown pieces is just pretty frustrating, especially with something like this. Like, I'm glad this wasn't like an expensive part or anything, or something that I needed every single one of these, or I'd be super annoyed right now. So, yeah, let me get this mess cleaned off my table, then we can progress forward with working on another one of those. Now take a look at this trench section right here. Man, having these dark red pieces helps so much and make this look just so visually interesting, in my opinion. It breaks up the monotony. I say this all the time. It breaks up the grays. It gives it a splash of color, which looks really nice. And it's especially going to look nice when there are like walls on either side of the trench. Now, before I show this off in detail, I do just want to say real quick, this Boyo brain don't work like it used to. I basically only ordered enough of these for one side somehow. I don't know how I screwed up the math on that. I wanted basically to have these pipes on this side as well as the other side. As of now, I only have it on this side, and then this is what I was left off with. So I got a lot more of those to order, which is super disappointing because these were super expensive to order for this project, and I'm basically paying double the price that I thought I would have been paying initially. So that sucks. The other thing that also sucks is I ordered like way too many of these. Like, I have all of these left over from the big pipes, and I'm not gonna need these anymore. And those weren't cheap either. So I don't know how I screwed all this up. It's kind of annoying. At least I'll be able to use these for like filler or something. I don't know, I might find a place to like use these in another area in the MOC. I honestly just want to get my money's worth with these parts. I wish there was some way I could trade these in and get more of these, but unfortunately that's not the case. So that's the annoying things out of the way. We also had another casualty. I don't know if I have the pieces nearby. Here they are. Dark red strikes again. I was literally just peeling this piece. This is a 4x4 rounded plate. I was peeling this off of like a 4x4 plate, like a normal square one, and it just cracked. So yeah, dark red is rough, man. If you can avoid using dark red, I would definitely urge you to do so, because these things are just so brittle. They just are. I don't know why. I mean, it's the material that LEGO uses. They said they were committed to fixing that. I don't know if they have already, but I know, like, in these past few orders I've placed, like, this is the most amount of dark red I've ever purchased at once, and it has definitely lived up to its name. So that is also annoying. Now we've got all of the annoying things out of the way. Let's go back and just appreciate this trench section right here. I just love the way these pipes came out. This is just such a nice kind of turn of what I've been building lately. Like, I feel like seeing this, I can really envision the trench section. Like, I can envision, you know, an X-Wing flying over this, being chased by a few TIE fighters. And that's good. It's always nice when it feels like your MOC is really coming to life, so to speak. So this is not going to be the end of the video. What I plan on doing is just actually building up basically just whatever details are going to be on tops of these sections right here. That's my goal. And I also want to add some details on the sides here, just basically little things to make these look even more nice, and I think that's going to be the stopping point for the week. One thing I know I'm going to have to do is obviously cover up the ground right here, and that's going to be a lot of tiles. I have a bunch of dark gray tiles. I have these right here. And these might be enough to cover up the whole thing, but I don't want to, I'm probably going to just opt for the 2x2s on the outside and then fill on the inside with the 1x2s, because yeah, I don't want to just use a bunch of the tiny ones for the outside that's like super visible. If they're mostly hidden by the pipes, I can live with that, but I don't want them out here. So we're going to see how much we can get done with the 2x2s. I'm assuming I'm probably going to have to order more, because that's usually how these things go. But I think it'll look really nice once this is a nice smooth surface. And of course I want to add some more details just kind of throughout the build. Little mechanical bits to just make it look accurate as it should. Another thing I wanted to point out were these little rings right here that I added to these. I think this actually came out looking really nice. I basically just added some flex tubing, wrapped it around the sides, and then I had some clips kind of sticking out of the sides for it to connect to. I did that there, and also did it down here. If you look closely enough at the freeze frames, you'll notice those rings that kind of go around the pipes, so that looks kind of nice. Another thing I do want to do, but I just don't have the pieces to do it, are add some like silver sections in the bigger pipes right here, like using these 4x4 macaroni bricks. I just don't have enough. Like, this is literally all I have. Fortunately, this is on the Mcbrick wall, so I'll be able to get these pretty easily. But I want to just add some silver sections, basically like where it was discolored. That's kind of, I guess, the idea of it. Just to make this look a little bit more detailed, a little bit more lived in, as people like to say about the Star Wars universe. So right now, I'm going to go ahead, cover these up, get this a nice finished look on top of these little braces that hold the pipes. I'm going to add some details on the sides of them, and I think we're going to be good to go for this week. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. And the finishing touches have been put on the trench. You can see we have some lovely greebling going on here. This trench section is so happy with it. So let's take a broader perspective. This is what we've got right now. I finished off the tops. I also added in some details on the inside tier, so you can see out of these 2x2 round tiles with a stud in the middle, then the 1x2 rounded plate. And that's the case basically on either side, going all the way down. You can see we got that. The only place where I wasn't able to do it, unfortunately, was here. I literally just ran out of that piece, so I'm going to have to add that in at some point down the line once I get an order put in. Fortunately, you're going to be viewing the MOC like this way, so it's not super imperative that that be placed here right now. It's just a little ancillary detail piece. I don't need it right now, but I want to give you a closer look also at some of the greebling that I got done. So this is little bits and bobs that I just added to the top of these to give them a more finished look. There's that one. If we make our way down here, we have the other two. So I added some dark tan in there just for a little bit of weathering. There's my little light bluish gray lever flex right there. Got to have one of those for every MOC. It's just nice to see those pieces in circulation now. I also added this little assembly right here on this side. It's kind of cool because it's angled, actually still up. Like, it's on this angled plate, but it still is parallel with the ground. So I thought that was just kind of cool. And this just comes right off, so you can see exactly how I accomplished that. That bad boy back in there. I got a little crazy with the details on this one. First, you can see on this side, another similar type of assembly on the slanted plate there. But this is just a little something I came up with. I thought this was kind of a cool design. I was really just messing around. I was like, okay, I want something kind of interesting to be right here. I'm always trying to do maybe something slightly different with my greebling, and this is what I came up with. And I think it looks kind of nice. I kind of went back and forth on it. I wasn't too sure if it was like overkill for something like this, like too detailed. But I think I'm going to leave it. I think it looks pretty cool. And it's certainly more complex than the other pieces of greebling that I have in this trench section. And then finally, this is the last section. This one is, of course, a lot more simple than the one over here. So I thought I would kind of complement it in that way. But yeah, this is my trench section. And this is just the base of it. Next week, my goal is going to be to build the walls on either side. So it's going to be like a wall right here and then a wall on that side. We'll see how much of that can get done. Those are going to be totally massive sections, but having this ground right here mostly complete. There's still, of course, tiling that needs to be done. There's going to be like kind of pillars scattered across, just other little details like that. This is definitely a good start. I'm super happy with this. This is exactly what I envisioned. Super bummed that we'll have to order more of these. These are so expensive, but it'll totally be worth it. Like, I think this trench is going to be one of the more cool sections of the build. And actually, one last thing I'd like to do before we exit is I put this like super elaborate stand together, and this is the most recent Pose X-Wing. Get that to balance right there. And this is kind of what you guys can imagine the trench section to look like. So I think that's pretty cool. I think that is really cool. I can totally imagine a TIE fighter behind it. This is basically going to lead off into a wall that's going to be like blown open. This is the place where Poe kind of flies through. But yeah, pretty sweet looking trench section so far. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the progress. Hopefully it was worth the wait for this super delayed episode. But let's go ahead and move on to the end segment of the video. That's going to finish up the video this week. I hope you enjoyed checking out Starkiller once more. As always, leave your comments in the comment section below. Let me know what you are thinking of the MOC. Next week, I am going to hopefully get started on the wall sections of the trenches. I think that the ground sections look great. There's still a few more details that I want to add into those, but I definitely got to at least get started on those wall sections. I think once it's all closed in, like, it's just going to look so nice. I have some pretty cool plans for lights to implement into it. I have some cool plans for turrets to implement into it. Just a bunch of really awesome things that are going to come into play into this trench section with Starkiller. And with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you like what I do, go ahead and support the video by hitting the like button, support the channel by smashing that subscribe button, and I'll be back again very soon.